Hey, what's going on, everyone? Are you able to hear me? Yeah, please confirm if you're able to hear me. Hey, Greg Twits. Hey, Urald. Hey, Munch Media. Thanks for joining in. Oh, I definitely will. I know you are the Zomedica man. Can you hear me, Munch Media? I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. Okay, thanks for confirming, Greg. Hey, Darren. Howdy to you. Thanks for joining, buddy. I appreciate it. Can you see my screen well? Is it good for you? Just trying to confirm that piece. What's going on, Hoagie? Bear? All right, well, I'm just gonna go down the list here. I mean, this is my streamer site. I mean, we don't see that much movements because most of the items here in like the NASDAQ, at least in the OTC, you'll notice that it's all freezed up right now. However, in the New York Stock Exchange, you'll see some blinking going on. But I'll try to cover from top to bottom some of the stocks that I have monitored at this time. I do have like Webull as well, where I have a lot of like OTC hidden gem stocks in that portfolio, but I haven't transferred it over. I'll try to cover most of what I have here on this streamer. I mean, I've been on Investor Hub for about 2 weeks now, so I don't have all the stocks listed here, but these are some of the stocks that I like to monitor on a daily basis. So I'm just gonna go based on like just requests. So Munch Media, I mean, with Zomedica, right? I mean, today, unfortunately, it dropped by like close to 14%. Let's say if you are a retail investor where you got in at the high $2, I mean, this at one point peaked up to like 280 from like 6 cents back in November of 2020 when I was recommending it. And it's great to see it mature up in the $2 value. Yesterday, a bull run up by like 8 to 9%. So it's just a normal net from yesterday's gains. I wouldn't be worried. We know that Andrew Cohen will be announcing news on Trueforma. If you all are not familiar with what Trueforma is the diagnostic product that the company plans on launching end of the month this quarter. Trueforma is intended to be used on like dogs and animals to test for like thyroid related problems. And we know the fact that like COVID-19 is like ongoing at this time where most people are working from home, there's pets at home, there's lots of eating. Veterinarians rely on diagnostic products, and Zomedica only has like one main competitor, and that's IDXX, where the company also has a diagnostic product for thyroid. However, just by researching the product, it's very costly, and the cycle time for producing a result from the sample from a dog or a cat can take much longer than Zomedica's Trueforma product. So I firmly believe Zomedica can take market share if and when this product gets announced and commercialized. Can you imagine, like, let's say if like Banfield, right? You know Banfield, I mean, you see that all around the United States. What if it partners up with Zomedica and purchases X amount of Trueforma products? That can just be huge, just knowing that Zomedica is able to work with like different veterinarians, at least in the large scale commercial space, like Banfield. I mean, I remember when I was in college when I had my dog. I mean, I still have him. This was like 15 years ago. I mean, it was really costly. I mean, just owning a pet still today. So we know there's money flowing into companies like Zomedica. Um, Current share price at 214. I mean, if held long term, I firmly believe that it can reach like the $3 to $12. So, I mean, that's the question you have to debate amongst yourself, right? Whether you have the propensity to hold or you have the propensity to go long and strong with this company. I mean, I like to look at companies and try to understand who are their competitors and what is the company's main competitive advantage. Zomedica's main competitive advantage is its product innovation right now with Trueforma, reduced cycle time, low costs, and it's an oligopoly market. What oligopoly means is basically when you have very few people in the market selling your product or service. So it's a little bit different than like the car industry, right? Where you have like so many competitors going on. With Zomedica and IDX, I mean, they basically are monopolizing this market right now, at least in the veterinarian space. Now, when we look at like the Food and Drug Administration, when you look at like pharmaceuticals, when you look at like biologics, you don't see too much money flowing into the veterinarian space, and this is going to be a paradigm shift. I mean, people are beginning to look for companies like Zomedica. I mean, it ends with a Z. I mean, last place, right, with the letter, but it's been bull running. That's the interesting thing. Now, let me go ahead and just let's look at the technicals here. Now, Zomedica. Yeah, I don't have level 2. I only have that for like OTCs, but let's look at the actual technicals here. So let's look at a 6-month range here. So I was recommending Zomedica like back when it was like at the 6 cents. Imagine if you purchased 6 cents at that time. Every 6 cents increase, that means it's going up by 100%. Oh, hey, baby. Oh, yeah, so Jenny Cole, that's my girlfriend. Um, my lover boo. Yeah, so as you can see, it's been stair climbing, right? So stair climb 1 happened back at um, sometime in January. That's when it like bull run from like 6 cents to like 16 cents. It was plateauing at 16 cents, and all of a sudden it just ramped all the way up to above the $1 share price, right? And then it started creating a floor at the $1, and then right when like February hit, it went to stair climb number 2, and it reached above like 250. At one point, it went up to like 280, and then now, as you can see, it's accumulating. I mean, it's not dropping below 150. That's a good sign, right? I mean, the floor is taking place at around 2. A lot more exposure with this company as well. So I'm sure once people get their $1,400 check, people will start using it on companies like Zomedica, Bitcoin, digital currency, value add OTC stocks. Who knows? Energy stocks. But I know Zomedica is a, a well-known company compared to where it was previously, like back in like 2020 before January kicked in. I mean, no one even knew about Zomedica, but now it's just been so popular, especially with its gains. Now the question is, where will we see the share price go? Will it V-shape up? Will it U-shape up? Will it start accumulating still? Well, we know that come within the next 2 weeks, Trueforma is going to be announced, and that's going to be huge news for this company. I mean, Andrew Cohen is going to release some data that's going to be coming out. As you can see here, we're looking at the website. I mean, their main purpose is advancing animal health and veterinarian success. This is Trueforma at a live glance at face value. Cuorval was the designer of this product. And I remember back in November, there were so many people that were worried about this company because of lawsuits going on. But now you don't even hear anyone talking about it, right? I mean, whenever there's like lawsuits and litigation things going on, I think that's what really drives companies to success. Because now look at where Trueforma is in terms of its future valuation and maturity. So Gerard, we have to wait for the earning that are coming up. I definitely agree with you. We have to see what the earnings are going to show. I mean, Zomedica announces year-end 2020 financial results. I mean, Zomedica announces closing of a 173 million bought deal. Now, I just wanted to share with you how the Trueforma product line works. Okay, so basically, it uses a bulk wave technology. It aids in providing correct diagnosis. It's the gold standard for point of care testing. And let me just show you from a visual standpoint how this looks here. Definitely. I mean, Darren, I will get to that. I mean, Sky is going to be the next Zomedica. Definitely my two favorite picks. Definitely. I'm 100% agreeing with you there. I mean, just looking at the trend chart, I mean, I found Zomedica back when like it was October 2020 when I looked at its historical data. I mean, it was like at $3 at one point in 2017, and then it went all the way down to like 7 cents. And just by looking at the trend chart, I just had realization that what goes down will come up. It's in the AMEX market, and now look at where it's going now. Hey Faye, yes, I will touch on that. Thank you for asking that question. I'll jump on that after I touch on Sky as well, because there was just great news that came out for Sky today. I wanted to touch on that as well. So how Zomedica's product works, right? So first you obtain a sample from a dog or cat. You add that sample into this accessory, right, which is this cartridge here that goes into the Trueforma. So it's similar to like a glucose meter where you add test strips into your glucose meter. All right, so you insert the cartridge into Trueforma, and then the results will appear within 20 minutes using the Zomedica software. That's awesome, right? I mean, 20 minutes cycle time. That's not too long. I mean, and if you have like 3 of these in your veterinarian labs, I mean, you can be testing like so many samples going on. And imagine a Banfield like pairs up with Zomedica because of this testing device. That just tells you that this can potentially be like a $3 to $12 stock in the long term. Okay, most people would expect, okay, once it hits March, we shall see like bull runs, but I'd say give it sometime in Q2, maybe like May, June, and you'll see some bull runs coming for sure with Zomedica. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and move on now. I hope I was able to touch on that Munch Media since you had asked about Zomedica. I'm gonna go ahead and move on next down the list here and then cover Sky. All right, and the reason why I feel like Sky is going to be the next Zomedica is it has the similar technicals when you look at the chart. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up Sky's website. We'll look at that in detail, and then I will look up Sky's ticker. All right, so the sky's the limit here, right? So we know that this company was previously known as Emerald Bioscience. The company shareholders, they were frustrated back in 2019 when the share price at one point reached $1.19, and then they demanded to have a new CEO in place when the share price plummeted while COVID-19 came about. That brought down the share price, and most shareholders demanded a new CEO, and that's why there was Puneet Dillon available, and he saw interest in this company because he knows how to run clinical companies, and that's why he joined part of Emerald Bioscience in September of 2020, and then he made strategic changes, at least just controlling the financial cash flow burn rate. I mean, if you look at the liquidity, the turnover ratio, that has to do with how much money you have available to pay for short-term expenses. And let's say if a company has a turnover ratio of above 1, that's very good. You don't have to compromise things that are in inventory where you have to sell it to have enough assets to pay for clinical trials or preclinical trials. This company has funds available to support its preclinical trials work as well as phase 1 clinical trials and onwards. It actually has a turnover ratio of 4, so that's way more than 1 just by looking at the financial calculation. And when you look at its financial data, it looks really solid. I mean, the financials, you see the assets growing year over year. I can go into more detail with that if you're interested, but for now, I'll just keep it high level. Today, the share price had gone up 7%, right? So it's hovering at like the mid 12 cents right now. This is looking solid. I mean, I was recommending this ticker back in December of 2020 at the time of Zomedica as well. While Zomedica was at 6 cents, Sky was at 3 cents. And it's great to see the share price gain on positive proceeds. I mean, at least by like 4x now, right? I mean, 3 cents to like 12 cents. That's 400% gain right there that I've recommended to you, right? And today, the company had announced solid news, and I'm just gonna share with you why the data we see today is solid news, okay? Now, I got a notification today too from investor relations, and it's just great to see, I mean, the company grow. I mean, this is a new website that was implemented like sometime in January, and I'm just going to share with you the news that came out today. One moment. Let me go ahead and pull that up. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and just focus on this here and just give you some insight. So surprisingly today, the company had announced data that its drug candidate, the THC VHS stands for valine hemisuccinate. That's the bioengineered prodrug that Sky Bioscience has designed in partnership with University of Mississippi as well as its scientific review committee. Now, what's interesting is that today the company had announced that its prodrug demonstrates no eye irritation in preclinical assessment. That's looking very solid. I mean, let's look at Sky's Twitter page just to share with you what that all was about. Yeah, thank you. I see several requests for Blue Sphere Manir. Faye had asked about Blue Sphere. I will definitely catch and touch on that. Hey, Spingleman, I just went through a deep dive analysis on Zomedica. So, you know, like let's say later if you're interested, you can watch the replay to look at Zomedica. But I definitely will talk about Afria, Vaxart, and Inovio Pharmaceuticals just to, you know, accommodate that right there. But according to the release here, I mean, with the news, we are pleased to announce preclinical data demonstrating THC VHS showed no signs of irritation of the eye using an in vitro assay. This assay test is a well-known test that has been approved by the Food and Drug Administration, and it's been used since like the 1940s. So it's nothing new here. I mean, it's a reliable in vitro diagnostic assay test that can evaluate the safety mechanism surrounding its prodrug. Now, the data from this study further underpins our confidence in our novel molecule and marks a key step forward. I mean, that just gives you a big overview in terms of what this is all about here and what's the diagnostic product that was used, right? I will go into more detail. So, synthetic cannabinoid-derived molecules to treat glaucoma and other diseases with significant unmet need announced preclinical data demonstrating that THC VHS, the company's novel THC prodrug, showed no signs of irritation of the eye. And when they say irritation of the eye, I mean it's being done on animals at this time, and I would expect it's being done on rabbits as a subject group using an in vitro assay, the Epicolor MTTET50. Now, just to give you some details on this product, the Epicolor MTTET50 risk assessment assay determines the effective time when a material causes a 50% reduction in the viability of tissue being assessed. Test materials are then categorized into one of four classifications ranging from non-irritating to severe extreme irritation, which corresponds to groupings of the in vivo gold standard, the dry's eye test. The preclinical findings from this study demonstrate that THC VHS achieved the lowest possible ranking of mild, non-irritating at each dose range, 0.5 to 2%, anticipated to be used in Sky's upcoming phase 1 study. Now, what does this all mean, right? Well, with the concentration that Sky plans on using for human clinical trials in Q3 of this year in Australia with subject groups, that just further validates that the cycle time for phase 1 clinical trials can be shortened, right, with this type of information that you can supply to like any health authority. So this is very good. I mean, look at like COVID-19 pandemic, right? I mean, FDA even granted manufacturers like Pfizer and Moderna not to even undergo preclinical trials because of the context of where we are with risk going on. Now, the fact that a company like Sky Bioscience can leverage providing this type of data to the Food and Drug Administration, this will only just build trust and respect from health authorities. Now, let's take a look at what CEO Puneet Dhillon had stated. Our aim is to develop cannabinoid-derived medicines using rigorous pharmaceutical methods and standards. We are pleased that these results demonstrate the best possible level of safety and non-irritation of the formulation of our novel prodrug of THC VHS, said Puneet Dhillon, Chief Executive Officer of Sky Bioscience. It is important to evaluate the irritation potential of a drug formulation in order to avoid exposing humans to potentially irritating materials during clinical testing and or approved use. So that's why the company is testing this product, right, to this level of degree of safety. The data from this study further underpins our confidence in our novel molecule, marking a key step forward as we prepare to enter the clinic later this year. So that's why, when we find an undervalued company, we get in early, plant the seeds, and let it grow in future valuation, because this type of data is only going to attract institutions, retail investors, and many more. It's only going to gain exposure, and this company is just going to gain in its attractiveness and viewed as a high quality company. Epicolor is an in vitro eye irritation test alternative to animal in vivo testing using human epithelial cells in a 3D model, which closely mimics the histological, morphological, biochemical, and physiological properties of the human corneal epithelium. Epicolor has been used for many years by the industry as a non-animal in vitro alternative to the dry eyes test to assess irritation caused by materials in contact with the eye. Hey, thank you all the viewers for joining. I'm going into detail with data that Sky Bioscience has announced today. If you have any comments or questions where you would like for me to review a particular stock company, please leave it down below and I'll get to you. I'm just going down the list from top to bottom. Now, in vitro alternatives such as Epicolor assay, which strongly correlate to dry eyes tests, have become favored to avoid unnecessary harm to animals. The dry eyes test is an acute toxicity test devised in 1944 by the FDA, in which a test substance is applied to the eye or skin, most commonly of albino rabbits, and monitored for signs of erythema, redness, swelling, discharge, ulceration, hemorrhaging, cloudiness, or blindness in the tested eye. Sky is currently advancing manufacturing and formulation on THC VHS in preparation for entering the clinic later this year, and that's planned for Q3 of this year, where patients in Australia will be taking this prodrug THC VHS, at least in phase 1, to evaluate safety implications. Well, with this kind of data, I mean most patients aren't even going to be worried by taking this prodrug THC VHS, knowing that it's a natural plant, right, that's bioengineered with valine hemisuccinate. There's not much toxicity going on when you think about it. The company anticipates releasing top-line data from its first in-human phase 1 study of THC VHS for treatment of glaucoma in early 2022. So that's Q1 of this year. So, when we look at like March of 2022, we shall hear like phase 2 entry, and that's when institutions will start flowing into companies like Sky Bioscience from my perspective. All right, so just wanted to share that value add data from Sky Bioscience. And also, there's tons of scientific articles posted on Sky Bioscience. I mean, years on back, if you look at like the preclinical trials data, you'll see so much information. There's also the 10K information. What's interesting is that there was 2 new board members added, Giovanni and Eduardo, right? I mean, these scientists and physicians from University of Italy and Spain have been added to the scientific board. So that's just solid information. Hey, Jesse. Yeah, I know you're a sky believer. James, great question. I was expecting that to come, sometime possibly. I'm thinking that that will come well before the challenge studies of ILP, comparing that to Ropressor and Lotanopros. I was thinking that neural protection can come out sometime in the next week or 2 weeks from now. But if not, then both preclinical trials experiments data will be announced in Q2. I would expect, there will be like a 1 month gap from the two. So let's say if we don't hear anything in March, which is 2 weeks remaining, then we shall hear that in April or May. But I would expect that the neurological protection data will either come in March, April, or May, while the IOP challenge studies against the traditional drugs will be announced at a later time. I believe neuroprotection will come first from my perspective. I may be wrong, but that's how I see it. Definitely. Okay, and Sky Bioscience did present at the H.C. Wainwright Global Life Sciences. This is a big life science conference. I mean, you even have companies like Inovio Pharmaceuticals presenting. This isn't for your typical retail investor. And it's just great to see how well this company has been doing in terms of just going on that marketing campaign, sharing with potential new investors, institutions on the value that this company can bring. And that's why I firmly believe that the future valuation is coming, right? I mean, when you look at the share price where it was previously compared to where it is today, I mean, back in December it was like 3 cents. Now it's gone up by 400% in gains. Definitely, I agree with you, Raymond. I mean, I'm on Sky. I'm all in on Sky. Definitely long-term hold. That's definitely what I'm doing. Hey, Eric, all I see is W. You got that right. I got my all I see is W hat on here. All in for the win. Hey, I mean, if you have high conviction, then you stand by it, and you just that's how I see it. I mean, there's lots of investors out there who focus on like diversifying, their investments. For me, I mean, I just like finding certain companies that I know will do well, and once I can take a big hit with that high conviction where I gain on future valuation, and then I will consider, following like the value investments. But for me right now, I'm more of a growth long-term investor because I like finding the hidden gem companies that's undervalued. I plant the seeds and let it fruit and then gain on the significant positive proceeds there. And let's say once you are able to establish a bankroll to your target goals, let's say if you're trying to reach like 200,000, 50,000, 500,000, or even a million, where you can start talking about like getting dividend payouts. Because let's say if you only have like 5,000 and you're trying to buy dividend stocks, how much dividends are you going to get? I mean, like AT&T, I mean, you get like 7% of your investment, but what's 7% of that 5,000 investment, right? But what's 7% of like $1 million investment into AT&T? That's when you can kind of change your strategy once you reach your target. So right now, I know most of us, we don't have big bankrolls, right? So let's say once we do establish our bankroll where we are satisfied, where we can take on lower risk, then becoming a value investor would be great because you can start allocating, diversifying, getting the dividend payouts. But for now, I mean, I'm all about that growth, long-term investing. I don't really care about getting dividend payouts, and that's why I'm basically, invested in Sky Bioscience at this time. Now, let's look at the 10K report. I mean, I love looking at financial data. I mean, because I do specialize in like business and finance as well as my background in life sciences. So I love, looking at accounting and finance data. I mean, it can be very dry, but if you do have the time, this 10K report, 10K basically stands for like your financial report that's available to the public. It's very detailed. It gives you a whole overview of the company in terms of what it does, and it gives you insight on the company's purpose, financial performance, and its future goals. Here, as you can see, product candidate, the THC VHS, the indication is for glaucoma. That's where 90% of their focus is on right now. While the company also has CBD VHS, and the unique thing is that there's multiple targets. So in the long run, this company can add value in multiple indications for use, right? Not only just for glaucoma, but it can potentially tap into like pain, right? Arthritis, or like seizures, all other aspects, or like sleeping agents. So we'll see how that plays out. And there's also the cannabinoid cocktail that it's researching at this time for anti-infective mechanisms. Hey Darren, thank you, man. I mean, I really appreciate it. I mean, you supporting the branding, because we're all in this together to add value, right? And to lead with that sharing mindset, right? We're not all here to win for ourselves, but we're here to share information and win together. I mean, what's the value of like, either you or me winning personally, but not everyone else, right? I mean, that's like that opposite of being altruistic. So I just wanted to point that out. So I appreciate that, Aaron, Darren. You supporting with that hoodie. So appreciate that. And your art, thank you, man. I like that. It's all about finding the value add plays and sticking with it. So I mean, I'm not gonna go into so much detail here, but let's say if you have time and you want to like go through understanding the competitive strengths, the business strategy, sales and marketing, manufacturing data. See, even the company plans on submitting a new drug application to the FDA. I mean, NDA is basically the regulatory process submission that you have to submit to the FDA this is basically a pre-market application to the Food and Drug Administration, where you submit your preclinical trials data, your clinical trials data, and the FDA reviews it. And let's say if they want to have any meetings, you'll have like pre-sub meetings, pre-IND meetings, IND meetings, NDA meetings to discuss. And once FDA gives you the green light, then you are officially considered approved for sale of your product. At this time, we are in preclinical trials data. All right, so there's intellectual property with its prodrugs, THC VHS and CBD VHS. There's lots of information here. I'll just go ahead and scroll all the way down. I know with the interest of time, we'll kind of just focus on the main pieces to discuss about here. All right, so it looks like we're just going through directors data, compensation data. Okay, so just looking at the balance sheet. So what is a balance sheet, right? So I just wanted to explain it to you in high level. So basically a balance sheet is looking at a company's financial data at a single point in time. That's different than income statements. Income statements isn't looking at something at a single point in time. So that's why balance sheets are done right at the end of the year. So as you can see here, December 31st. So it's a snapshot in time. So we're looking at a snapshot. Munir, hey, I mean right now with my current job, I'm working from home as well. I've done day trading in the past and I was successful, but I found that Me just holding long term is just the way to go. And let's say if I see any opportunities, then I'll just jump in. But right now, I'm not actively day trading. Although, like beginning of the COVID 2020, I was actively day trading at some point in time, and I did quite well. But it just takes up so much brain energy. So I'd like just spending my energy focusing on the companies that can add value and just playing that set it and forget it mindset. You know what I mean? But it's great, if you have two strategies going in parallel, where one, you find some long-term hidden gem stocks where you just leave it there, and two, you have like a day's trading strategy. Let's say if you have like $5,000-$10,000, you wait for dips where companies are jumpy, meaning like it has those peaks. Then if you get it at the very bottom, and then once you see it peak up, just take that 10% gain, and then you end the day there with a couple $100 gain or a couple thousand. And once you've gained that during the day, and just exit and don't try to gain more, that's solid. You know what I mean? But it just takes a lot of brain energy, so I just need to focus my attention on like other things throughout the day. I do have a lot on my whiteboard just in terms of agenda items that I have to get through. I'm trying to start up like my Amazon business as well too. I haven't sold anything, but I've been shipping things out to like the Amazon fulfillment center. So I may consider making some videos on that just to share with you the story of that journey. But definitely could not have done that without my girlfriend Jenny. She's been very helpful at supporting me through all this. Especially with like YouTube, at least with like the branding, and then just with Amazon fulfillment. So, hey Ingo, CUV play. Yeah, I'll cover that once I get through this. But thank you for asking. All right, so let's get back to the balance sheet here. So 2019 compared to 2020. So as you can see, just at a horizontal view, we see cash growing, right? And in terms of liabilities, so in the word of accounting, it's assets equals liabilities plus stockholders equity, right? So if we see an increase in assets, that's a good sign. That's a very good sign. You know what I mean? So the key thing is you want to see asset buildup, right? Now, a further breakdown, as what I mentioned, assets equals liabilities plus stockholders equity. You want to make sure that your liabilities basically stands for risk. Accounts payable, let's say if you have suppliers and you have a high value here, that means you owe a supplier money, right? So let's say if there's a high value here or something, then that might be scary. You might have loans. There's PPP loans are here too for the COVID-19. So as you can see, expenses has dropped off significantly compared to the prior year. So that's a good sign. When I look at balance sheets, I like to see increase in assets. If you look at like Apple's balance sheets year over year, its cash for current assets just continues to grow, and its deficits, it doesn't like to borrow money. That's why its liabilities continues to decrease, right? So this is a good sign here, okay? Year over year increase, year over year decrease, specifically to the liabilities. So that's your risk, all right? And then you have your stockholders equity, all right? So this can be like, stocks owned. It has economic fair value in this. So as you can see here, you want this to be high, because we know that liabilities and stockholders equities equals your assets. So to offset your expenses, this is basically the value, the proceeds are here, right? So the fair value has increased as well. So what made the assets grow? Well, they basically reduced their current liabilities, right? 259 compared to 420, right? So that's the difference there. So that's what I like seeing when it comes to looking at financial data. All right. Now, that's the main piece. There's a lot more to get into depth, like when it comes to like finance and accounting. But if you can nail down the main three things are assets, liabilities, and stockholders equity, just think of this as green. Assets is green. This is red. So the higher the number, the bad. This is green. Higher the number, the better. Okay, so green, green, red, right? So lower number means green. Higher number means red for liabilities. Higher number for assets, which is reflected here in 2020, is better, so that's green. Higher number here compared to 2019, its previous year, means green. So let me know if that's just too much information for you. If you find it helpful, I'd love to get your feedback as well, but I'm just kind of sharing with you the fundamentals of like finance and accounting and how it applies to the stock market. Okay, so hey Franco, what do you think about HOLX? I think that it will go up to $90. Hey, thank you for asking. I will touch on that. I'm just kind of going through a deep dive analysis with the Sky Biosciences 10K data that was previously released not too long ago. Okay, so that's that. If you have time, I mean, just go through the 10K report. If you're interested in understanding how the company has its business strategy set up and what's its financial data looking like and its position for its business strategy, take a look at the 10K, all right? Ideally, you want to make sure you invest in and do your research. This is what research stands for. You know, looking at financial data, understanding whether it fits your investing style and whether it's undervalued. Look at the technicals too. So that's what we're going to be doing now, looking at technicals, right? You know, I like this company. The reason why I jumped on, Sky Bioscience was the fact that, the CEO previously came from like Inovio Pharmaceuticals. He was there like back in 2010. I mean, reporting to like Joseph Kim. And the fact that I knew he's now the CEO of Sky Bioscience, that's what really caught my attention because I'm a firm believer of Inovio Pharmaceuticals. And the fact that we have Puneet Dhillon, he's basically carrying that culture from Inovio Pharmaceuticals into Sky Bioscience as well. So that's why I have high conviction in this company, at least like having that intuition insight. Now, we're looking at a 3-month trend chart here. So back before it was previously known as Emerald Bioscience, back in like December, it was like at the low 3 cents. And then sometime it peaked all the way up and then it started trending down in January, and then it just catapulted up where it accumulated sideways for a good like 3 weeks up until like week 3 of February. It started going down, and then week 1 of March it just catapulted back up. However, we're seeing future valuation with this company, and it's not a matter of if, but a matter of when this company gets into phase 1 clinical trials, presents its data, then we shall see some solid news coming. And that will all be reflected in the share price. All right, so I hope that helps answer, just any questions about Sky, as well as giving you an overview with the new data that was announced, at least with, the solid news that was announced with its preclinical trials data demonstrating minimal safety risks using the diagnostic test that's well known by the FDA since like 1914. And here's a CEO, Puneet Dhillon, who was previously CEO at Oncosec, a cancer biotechnology company as well. That company was uplisted into the NASDAQ with support from Puneet. So it was a OTC stock and it went to become a ticker on the NASDAQ market. So I know that Puneet's vision in the long term is all about uplisting this company. But it all just depends on market capitalization, right? So right now this company is worth like not in the 50 million capitalization yet, but once it hits 50 million capitalization, once it hits 100 million, then we're talking 500 million capitalization. Then you start wrapping up to the 1 billion capitalization and onwards. And that's when you can start talking about, getting into the NASDAQ market. Hey Eric, I wanted to know what you think about Sabby Management being a heavy stockholder and the leadership of both companies being related. Well, Sabby knows what they're doing basically. And the fact that Sabby has like 15 million shares in Sky Bioscience at like the share price of like 3 to 4 cents, they've done their due diligence, their homework to know what has value, and that's why they're parking their money in Sky Bioscience. And the fact that they have 15 million shares, they have a huge say in the company. And most people, at least for like retail investors or experienced investors in the OTC market, do follow the footsteps of savvy management style. When they invest in like biotech companies in Sky, then you have like a certain percentage of investors in OTC market jumping into. So that's what it has caused. And in terms of leadership, Eric, are you referring to the leadership at Sky Bioscience? Just to give you some background on their leadership, I mean, the leadership team has been assembled by Puneet, and he's brought in members from like Innovio, people he's worked with previously. So this is nothing new. I mean, he's just going to execute on how he knows how to execute and grow companies. But ultimately, it's all going to be coming down to the product innovation that will really differentiate itself from. There's not even that many competitors right now in this market space because they're the leading pioneer in cannabinoid science and bridging the gap between pharmaceuticals and cannabis use. You look at like what GW Pharmaceuticals, I was investing in that company back in like 2014 because I knew that that was like the only company that will likely get FDA approval on its drug product Epidiolex for patients with seizures. And it's amazing to see, how the company has grown, and the fact that now Jazz Pharmaceuticals bought out GW Pharmaceuticals recently, that's just amazing. I just see that connection there, and FDA approved it, and that just further validates, the paradigm shift getting into cannabinoid research. And that's why you see there's the two new additional members on the scientific advisory board. So I have firm belief that this company is going to go long term, and it's going to get up to the whole dollar share price range, definitely. All right, so I spent quite some time on Sky Bioscience. I hope that helped clarify certain things, and I'm going to go ahead and go down the list now. And that's why, Darren, to your point, I firmly believe, I'm with you 100%, that Sky might have that similar rocket like Zomedica. But once it reaches phase 2 clinical trials, we'll see that inflection point. And when I mean inflection point, that's when institutions will start flowing their money in. All right, so Spiegelman, Aphria. So Aphria is definitely a solid cannabis company that I was invested in as well. I was producing content on Aphria at the time when it was $3. Now it's gone up to $20. Unfortunately, today it's dropped by 9%, but it has future valuation, right? And we've heard about the news with Mexico, right? That just seals the deal with NAFTA trading agreement all around the North American free trade, with Canada already having approved for use, recreational use for cannabis. Now the United States, that was years back with Denver announcing that, and then you have it in Seattle and California. But now, just last week, Mexico announcing news that cannabis is now legal. That just changes the whole business infrastructure. And for those reasons, Aphria is going to be a long-term future value growth company. Although the share price is at $20, where it's gained by 500% since Q4 of last year, that's still going to have room for growth, right? I do personally feel that it can get up to $40 come Q2 of 2021. So that's where I stand with this company, Aphria. This is a Canadian-based company that is definitely pumping out a lot of dried cannabis weight right now, year over year. And in terms of its finances, it's growing heavily. It's partnering up with a lot of companies, and I just see very low risk with this type of company. It's much better from my perspective compared to like Aora Cannabis, ticker ACB. I like focusing on more of the high quality companies. So I hope that answers your question there with the requests for looking at Afria. And I'm going to go ahead and continue down the list here. So Vaxart, right? So VXRT, I mean, I'd be a little cautious with companies that are competing in the COVID-19 space. However, this ticker is definitely undervalued at this time, right? I mean, this is a San Francisco-based company that's working on a pill form COVID-19 vaccine that's getting close to phase 2 clinical trials, right? I mean, at one point it got up to like $15 recently, and then it just went downwards. Once it announced its data, I mean, it got up to like mid 25, and then that was like week 1 of February, and it just dropped by like 60%. Now it's like just hovering at the low single digits. Today, fortunately, it had gone up by like 3%. What I like about this company is that it's monopolizing the market. I mean, you don't have to take a pill form. No, you don't have to take like a injection, right? Where you might get like complications around the injection site. You can just simply take a pill. But the fact that there's just multiple companies working on vaccines and the availability with having like the Pfizer Moderna vaccine right now in play, this just puts more risk to companies like Vaxart. However, if and when this company is able to demonstrate safety and efficacy through the regulatory process, it can gain market share because COVID-19 is not going away. I repeat, it is not going away. For many years to come, we will see more and more products focused on COVID-19 solutions, and that's why Vaxart will continue its course. However, I feel like there's just so much more opportunity in different types of companies right now. But if you're looking for like, let's say like a short-term play, it can gain like by 10%, 15%. I mean, if you were to buy like, you know, week 1 of March from like low $5.80 to $6, you could have gained like by, 20% there already. And let's say if you're planning on setting your target sell like, once it's double digits, then you can gain by like, 30% there too. So minimal risk, because I know that this ticker is bouncy and it's not gonna like not achieve that double digit share price range. So if you're like trying to do like swing or who knows what, Vaxart's a fairly good play. All right. Now, Inovio Pharmaceuticals, I mean, it just announced a new board member today as well. I believe it was like executive member, vice president, part of the team. In terms of share price, there's a posting here: China's secret vaccine weapon exposed, DNA COVID-19 vaccine. Hey, that's very possible, right? Because this is the only DNA immunotherapy-based vaccine right now that's underway for safety and efficacy review, and it's currently undervalued right now. And I do feel like it can bull run up in the long term. The fact that it has partnerships in Florida, in Germany, in the United States, China as well. The DNA plasmids will start being manufactured, and I'm more excited to hear about the VGX platform that will be announced, and that's going to be solid news in the long term. From a share price standpoint, it can gain by like 200% from my perspective. So that's why I do have shares in Inovio Pharmaceuticals as well, and I like that this company is a high quality based company with its partnership with Quagen that just further solidifies themselves as a reputable biotechnology DNA vaccine researcher company. All right, so that's my take with Inovio Pharmaceuticals. Now I'm just going to go down the list here. All right, Ingo, I'm going to go ahead and search up the ticker that you were asking about, CUV. And please let me know if this is the specific ticker that you were interested in. Okay, I may have entered it incorrectly, so please catch me if I have it incorrect. Okay, it doesn't look like I have the right one here. So I'll just continue going down the list to see. Okay, so Franco, let me go to your request here. So HOLX. Okay. So currently at $71. All right, so we have 52-week range of $26 to $85, so it hasn't reached its high point yet. We know the average volume, it's quite known as a stock, right? I mean, there were 16,000 trades with the share quantity volume of like 1,225,000. All right, the volume weighted average price was around $72. Let's look at a 1 month trend chart here. So about a month ago in February, it was like high 80s, and now it's been flooring at the mid 70s, low 70s. So it's been taking a downward trend. However, if you were to get in now, then you basically would have been able to purchase it at the price back when it was like at November timeframe of last year, so you saved several months. But looking at a long-term trend chart, it's definitely looking like a solid company, right? Long term. Because just looking at this data, I mean, this peak here that we see was basically as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. But imagine if you were to buy at $30, you basically gain like 120%. However, I mean, there's other plays that would gain so much more. Let's say if you were to buy different tickers, I'm going to go ahead and share with you here with my stream. It just gave me an idea when I looked at the technicals. You look at like Dave & Buster's, PLAY, that was like $8 and now it's like $45. So that's like, who knows how many percent gains that was. You look at Nordstrom, you look at like American Airlines, you look at like Southwest Airlines, you look at like Spirit Airlines, you look at JetBlue. All these retail companies are growing significantly right now. Let's look at Play. This is Dave & Buster's. I wanted to buy this company stock at the time when the COVID-19 pandemic hit because it was just so undervalued at like, it was like at $8 at the time of like COVID. And now it's, look, it was about less than $10, $8, and it just popped all the way up. So that just tells you that these retail companies are gaining in value as well. All right, so I'm currently not in Vaxar at this time. So thank you for asking that question. What do I think about? Okay, so there's some questions about Zomedica. Okay, so Ria. So I see Zomedica is getting down. So what do you think it will be increased? What do you think about GBS? Okay, so in terms of Zomedica, I mean, today we did see a 14% drop off, right? However, the fact that the prior day it gained by like 9%, so that really just nets the difference there, right? Some people just want to take the profits, or some are short selling that company. But in the long term, though, I mean, I do see that True Forma is going to gain market share from its competitors, IDXX, and there's only like 2 companies right now that's pumping out thyroid diagnostic tests. So there's going to be market share for both companies, but the company that has a higher quality product, especially the cheaper one, will get more market share, and profitability and cash flow will start coming in for companies like Zomedica. And imagine if it can partner up with Banfield Veterinarians. That would just change the game for Zomedica. So, I mean, if you are a holder of Zomedica, I would recommend holding long term. That's my take. Now, let me go ahead and answer your question. GBS, I'm not too sure what GBS is all about, but GBS Incorporated. So GBS stock price. So I can give you insight on the technicals of this company. So not much data here, although we see downward dips. I mean, when you see a company drop like that, I would highly advise that you apply, let's say if like it went up by like 10x and it started dropping, always apply the 3-week criteria rule, where you don't buy into a company right away. Let it continue to drop, because it will drop, and just get in at about 2 to 3 weeks later, at least at a minimum. That's my takeaway. All right, so get some Agenus, fellas. I mean, Moro, I mean, I'm 100% with you. Agenus is a value add company. They're very undervalued at this time. I mean, they previously ran up to like $5, where it is right now at $3, I'd say it's definitely undervalued. As well as BLRX, I'm with you on that. Zila, I'm not too familiar with that. Um, but thank you for sharing that. So, Greg, I mean, iBio, I mean, today, even though it dropped in single digits, I mean, I have firm belief that this company is going to gain significantly. Now, just looking at the share price at high $1, it's been V-shaping back up, right? And I mean, it was previously up at like 260 and now it's down to like 170. It's undervalued at this time from my perspective, and at one point it reached like up to $7. I remember it went up to like 7 and I didn't take any profits at that time, but hey, lesson learned, because if how long term that that parabola will start establishing itself from my perspective. So I hope that helps. So what's the latest on SRNE? Seems they have solid foundations, Covey sticks, and a range of products. Well, I mean, good question. I mean, SRNE, I mean, if you're able to buy in like at $8, where it's at now, like at 10 plus, I mean, that's definitely a value add play. I mean, Henry G will be announcing data coming very soon. It has not only like anti-therapeutics, cocktails, diagnostic tests, Covey sticks, even the vaccine. This company is going to grow, and they are working on, several state-of-the-art technology platforms that will be approved by regulatory. And the fact that they have like, an FDA ex-commissioner like working with them, like an ex-FDA like employee, he or she understands the whole process of like regulatory, and I'm sure, with its biologics, with this diagnostic testing, there will be no problem getting product approval in the long run. Do I smoke weed? I currently do not. That's my answer, and I hope that helps. But no, I don't currently at this time. All right, so here's the SRNE chart. I mean, it was nice to see that it peaked all the way up to like $16, $17. I do suspect it to reach at least a 50% gain based on the current share price. $15, I'm definitely feeling that it's going to be coming with Sorrento Therapeutics. So that's my takeaway. And let's see what other people are saying. Apparently there's rumor SRNE will be featured on CNN, Your Money segment. Hey, so that's solid news right there. I mean, coming from a poster saying that, there's going to be SRNE PR on CNN. That's huge news. So oh yeah, thank you for that, Faye. I didn't jump on your question previously. I kind of forgot about that. Sorry, I wasn't trying to ignore that question. So thank you for reminding me. So BLSP, Blue Sphere. So Blue Sphere Corporation. If you are a holder of Blue Sphere Corporation, and when you saw that the share price value dropped in valuation at the time when SEC uplifted it from the halt, please be mindful that there will be shorters trying to take down this company. However, from my perspective, please make sure to do your due diligence though, to do your research on companies. And I have firm belief in BLSP because I know if held long term, it can run up at least to 10 cents at a minimum. But that's just me. I don't have like huge investments in BLSP. I have a small amount, but if held long term, I have firm belief that this company can grow in future valuation. So that's why I'm a holder of BLSP. All right, so today it did drop by like 8%, and looking at a 1 month trend chart, see, this is when the stock was allowed for trading again, and it dropped down to like the 007. Now I do have a feeling that it will start popping back up. Just the fact that there's just so much attention around this company, and I do feel like it will grow in the long term. So that's what I'm doing. I'm holding this long and strong. So that's my take. Now, in terms of Sing, I love Sing. I'm a holder of Single Point as well. The fact that they're trying to get into the COVID-19 play as well, partnering up with the air purification company. That just tells you that it's not only, focused on solar panels, but it's also, focused on trying to get students back to school as well. I mean, today it dropped by like 2%. It previously ran up to like 7 cents back in like early February, but it's been taking a downward trend. When you look at its financials, though, customer install base, all of that's increasing year over year. It's just not reflected in the share price. So I do feel like it's definitely undervalued at this time and that it can grow long term. So Sing is definitely a hidden gem play that will take you to victory from my perspective. Sugar Made, this is my first time looking at this ticker here. So it's at 003, a Sugar Made stock price. Looking at the 3-month trend chart here, I mean, it peaked at like early February. It's been taking a downward trend. I mean, after applying the 3-week criteria rule, it's eligible to be purchased because you're buying it undervalued. The question is, when will it be able to pop back up? So, I mean, this is solid because, yeah, thank you for joining, Spingleman. I appreciate you following through, and yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. I mean, it's better that you buy now than, like, let's say if you were to buy like back in February, right, when it was like still trending down. So, you always want to apply several weeks, let it just continue to drop. Now I think it's a good buying opportunity only if you believe in the company, right? Don't just buy it without knowing what the company does, what's its business strategy, how is its financials. I mean, market cap of like 12 million, that's fairly small. It has a float of like negative 1.39 billion with a short interest of like 141K. All right, so I hope that answers your question. So, hey, Collins, you're welcome. I mean, Sky, I'm holding it long as well because I like Sky in terms of what they're doing. So, it seems like I've answered the questions, but CYDY, I was looking at CYDY as well. Let's see what it's at now. Before it was like at 5, and I know it dropped heavily at one point in time, like 20% at one point. Now it's at 244. I mean, from a value standpoint, definitely a value add play. I mean, if you see that there's potential in this company, right? But try to see what the risk is, right? Because if the FDA does not allow for it to move forward because of risk implications, I would hold off. But this is way better than like buying at any point when it was like above $3, $4, $5, right? I mean, you're getting it at like 244. If it can go back up to like $4, at least you gain like 100% in gains right there. We're looking at a 6-month date range. All right. So let's see if there's any comments that we can pick up from. But overall, let's see. I looked at the clinical trials website at the login Holler trial. The last update was March 12th, and his wife is no longer the contact for that trial site. Not sure if he's now out of that trial as well. Well, that's interesting. I don't know too much about the details. Hey, thank you so much, Munir, for watching from the Netherlands. I appreciate it. But just try to understand why the value of the share price is much lower, and do you think there's future value growth, and what are the risk implications? I would say that it's undervalued, but do more research to know why it's set at this price and whether it has products in the pipeline that can catapult it upward in the future. So I hope that answers your question. All right, so Darren, do you invest in fintech, drones, EV, and similar, Danny? Well, yeah, BANT. I mean, I am a holder of Bantech, so thanks, Scott, for jumping in. Bantech is one that I've held on to. I mean, that was recommended to me previously, but there's like UVHS, right? United Eagle. I mean, if you like drone technology, there's eHang. I mean, where you have like 8 people like sitting in a drone. Hey, thank you, Mr. Harbear. I appreciate you joining in and stopping by here. So my top 3 conviction plays. Let me just type it out for you. My top 3. So this is my top number 1 right here. Sky Bioscience. Today it announced data that its preclinical trials work using a very well-known diagnostic assay has demonstrated 0 irritations going on. That's my number 1 conviction. Number 2, I would have to say a medical device company that's undervalued at this time, and that's Interscope Hearing Technologies, currently priced at 2 cents. It ran up at one point up to like 7 cents. It's been flooring at 2 cents. However, the fact that it's part of the whole e-commerce business to consumer strategy, working with Amazon and Walmart, I do firmly believe that this stock is going to grow long term. So that's my second conviction play. Third conviction play that I was previously recommending at 6 cents, where I feel like Sky will reach this share price at one point, is Zomedica. Right, this company is coming out with the TrueForma product line by end of this month, and Andrew Cohen, the CEO, will announce information surrounding that. So those are my 3 stock plays that I would recommend. And let's see what Bantech is at right now in terms of its share price. Unfortunately, it went down by 14%, but I'm holding this long term. I'm not worried. So let's say if you are a long investor and if you like drone technology, this is the way to go. And if you're looking at EV, Darren, Tesla is the way to go. If you're looking for like the cream of the crop type of company, if you're looking for value add plays, there's Solo. I was recommending this at $2 previously, and it ran up to like double digits, like $12. I would say it's undervalued at this time, in that it can V-shape back up. So that's my takeaway there. So it seems like I've addressed all the questions so far, and I've been doing this live stream for like over an hour now. So I hope that this live stream added value for you all, and if you have any more questions, leave it down below. Otherwise, we can call it end of day here. And I'd love to hear your feedback in terms of like, what do you suggest in terms of live stream? When should I do this? Do you recommend that I do it like on certain days of the week, or do I do it randomly? What works best for you all, and like, what's your recommendation? If you can leave it down in the comments, so I can get some insight from you. Well, okay. I guess there's no further comments, but with all that being said, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and hey, what is that? The shareholder bond. How do you... I'm fairly new with all of this. Okay, thank you for that. Was that a picture that you sent? Like, yeah, I wasn't quite sure what that whole... Yeah, but thank you all. I appreciate all of your time, just stopping by to watch. I'm not like super great at this. Still learning along the way. This is my second time streaming, and I hope this was a value add. Thank you, Darren. I appreciate that. I'm glad to hear that you enjoyed it and that it wasn't dry and it wasn't, valuable for you. So I appreciate it. Please make sure to share with your network as well. That would definitely help. And, please make sure to take a look at that as well. So how do I? Oh, thank you so much for that donation. I mean, I have no idea what that is, and I have no idea how you can retrieve it. Huh. But thank you. That's like my first ever. So that's really cool, and thanks for doing that. I don't know how to actually like retrieve that. Do you know what I'm supposed to do, Darren? Like with that piece, like I mean, what I'm supposed to click on or okay, well, I will research that. Yeah, I'm not sure how I'm able to. Um, yeah, maybe through YouTube. Never had one myself. Yeah, so I'll see how that works. But how did you like do that? Like, because I don't think I set anything up. I'm not sure how you're able to like just send it to my way. You know what I mean? I mean, I know like for like Twitch, Amazon platform, you can probably do that, but just never knew that you were able to do it through this here. But I'll look into that. But thank you for the kindness there, and I'll try to figure out how to. Okay, yeah, I'll look into that. Thank you so much, though, Darren. That was very nice of you. That's actually like the very first. Um, but I want to say thank you, and you all have a good day. Okay, goodbye. I see. Thank you for sharing that. I'll look further into it. Okay, well, have a good night, all. Press the dollar sign in chat. Oh yeah, I just did that. I don't think that helps. But okay, thank you so much, Darren, and the rest of you all. You have a great rest of your day. Goodbye.